start off by telling us what some of the barriers are to social innovation.
Yeah, you know, after working in Silicon Valley for so many years and coming into the social sector, I was surprised at how much harder it is. At first I was just like, why don't people just do this? It's obvious. And I found that there's a lot of systemic barriers. It's not just that people want to innovate, but I think there's a lot of constraints that make it harder. The biggest one I would say is around funding, that the way that social sector organizations are funded is often very inflexible, and it keeps them from doing the things that maybe make the most sense always. You know, in the private sector, you usually you have a really simple feedback loop because your customer is usually the one that buys and pays for your service. So if you have a product or service that your customer doesn't want, they won't buy it, and you figure out very quickly that you're off the mark. When it comes to social good, we often have people we call beneficiaries who we're trying to help, but they're often not the ones who are buying the product or service. It's the funders who are paying for it. And these two customers, their interests are not always aligned. And so you can have funders sort of pushing you in one direction, and you may be providing something for beneficiaries, which may or may not be the thing that's most valuable to them. And so I think that's sort of at the root of some of the challenges, but also the structure of funding can get in the way. A lot of times grants are fairly inflexible. They sort of enforce what I think of as a waterfall model that come from the software development world, where you plan everything well in advance and then you execute on that plan for a long period of time, and you don't deviate from that plan. And a lot of grants force us to do that, and it makes it difficult for us to do the sort of iteration and pivoting and learning that's necessary to drive innovation. In addition to funding, there's a number of other factors that make innovating in the social sector harder. Like I said earlier, measuring social impact often takes years to fully realize. It's a lot harder than measuring e-commerce hits. We have to be a lot more responsible when we're experimenting with people who are often in vulnerable situations. And so all of these things combine to make innovation for social good a lot harder.